The dusty afternoon sun blazed mercilessly over the outskirts of Ouagadougou. The wind carried with it the dry scent of earth and hunger, a scent that told a story of drought, loss, and forgotten dreams. Along the narrow, broken road, 4 young boys stood barefoot, their tattered shirts fluttering in the wind, their eyes reflecting both fear and determination. They were orphans: Karim, Moussa, Idrissa, and little Boubacar, children of the same village that had lost everything during the past year's floods. Their parents had perished trying to save their homes from the angry waters of the Nakambe River. Since that day, the boys had no one, no food, no shelter, and no hope. They survived by begging at the roadside and sharing whatever little they found. That day, fate brought them something they could never have imagined. A convoy of black vehicles approached from the distance, kicking up clouds of golden dust. It was the presidential motorcade. President Ibrahim Traoré himself was returning from an inspection tour in the countryside. The sound of engines and sirens echoed through the emptiness. The boys looked at each other. Karim, the eldest, whispered, "This is our only chance." "What if they punish us?" Moussa asked nervously, clutching his younger brother's hand. "They won't," Karim replied. "We've already lost everything." As the convoy neared, the boys ran into the middle of the road, waving their arms desperately. The soldiers shouted, brakes screeched, and the entire motorcade came to a sudden halt. The presidential guards jumped out, rifles ready. "Get back!" one soldier shouted. "Move away from the road!" But Karim didn't move. He held his ground, trembling yet unyielding. "Please, sir, we just want to talk to the president," he cried. Inside the main vehicle, Ibrahim Traoré looked out through the tinted window. His brows furrowed when he saw the small figures standing defiantly against the line of armed men. He signaled his driver to stop completely. "Bring them to me," he said quietly. The guards hesitated for a moment, but obeyed. Moments later, the 4 boys were escorted to the president's car. The soldiers looked confused. Why would their commander-in-chief stop for a group of dusty, barefoot children? When the door opened, the boys froze. President Traoré stepped out, dressed simply in a khaki uniform, his face calm yet commanding. But when he saw the fear and exhaustion in the boys' eyes, something inside him softened. "Why did you stop my convoy, sons?" he asked gently. Karim, his voice shaking, took a deep breath. "Mr. President, we have no family left. Our village was destroyed. We've been living on the streets for months. We don't want money. We just want a chance to live like humans again." The youngest, Boubacar, barely 7 years old, stepped forward and said in a broken voice, "We just want to go to school, sir." The president's eyes glistened. For a moment, the air grew still. He slowly knelt to meet them at eye level. "What are your names?" he asked softly. "Karim, Moussa, Idrissa, and Boubacar," Karim replied. Traoré placed a hand on Karim's shoulder. "You did a brave thing today, Karim. Most people fear soldiers and power, but you faced them for your brothers. That's true courage." He looked around at his convoy, then turned to his team. "We're going to their village," he ordered. The officers exchanged glances, surprised, but silent. Within minutes, the entire convoy changed course, following the boys' lead. As they arrived at the remnants of the boys' village, the scene was heartbreaking. Collapsed mud huts, dry wells, and broken memories lay scattered under the blazing sun. The president walked among the ruins, his boots crunching against the cracked earth. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter that once filled this place. "Who else lives here?" he asked. "No one," Moussa replied. "Everyone left or died." The president stood silently for a moment, his fists tightening. "This is not how our children should live," he murmured. He turned to his ministers who had followed him. "We will rebuild this village," he said firmly. "Not tomorrow, now." Phones started ringing, orders were given. Within hours, trucks from nearby regions began moving toward the site, loaded with water, food, and construction materials. Engineers and volunteers soon joined, guided by the president's personal call. But the president wasn't done. He sat down on the ground with the boys under the shade of a lone neem tree. "From today," he said, "you are not orphans anymore. You are sons of this nation, and I am your father." Karim broke into tears, burying his face in his hands. Even the soldiers nearby lowered their heads, some wiping their own eyes. The president called his aide and said, "Prepare arrangements for their education. They'll study at the national school in Ouagadougou, and make sure they have a home, a real one." The boys looked at each other in disbelief. "Sir, are you serious?" Idrissa asked softly. Traoré smiled. A promise from a soldier is never a joke. He stood up and addressed his men. "Power means nothing if it cannot lift up the weakest among us. These children reminded me why we fight, not for politics, but for people." A few weeks later, the story of the 4 orphaned boys spread across Burkina Faso like wildfire. Pictures of the president sitting on the dusty ground, holding the hands of the children, went viral. Citizens from all regions sent letters and donations to support the rebuilding of the village. The boys began attending school in the capital, dressed neatly in new uniforms. Every week, the president checked on their progress personally, calling them his 4 sons. Karim, the eldest, told a reporter, "He didn't just give us food or money, he gave us back our dignity." Their story inspired a new national campaign called Children of the Nation, aiming to provide homes and education for all orphans in Burkina Faso. The once deserted village slowly came alive again, with new houses, a school, a clinic, and the laughter of children. It became a symbol of rebirth, proof that compassion could change a country more than any weapon or speech ever could. One evening, months later, President Traoré returned to visit the rebuilt village. As he arrived, the 4 boys, now healthier, smiling, and dressed in clean clothes, ran to greet him. They hugged him tightly, and the president smiled with tears in his eyes. "You see," he said softly, "this is the Burkina Faso I dream of, where no child feels forgotten." As the sun set over the golden horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and red, the president stood with his arms around the boys. Cameras captured the moment, not as a political act, but as a human one. And across the nation, millions watched the footage in silence, many with tears rolling down their cheeks. For in that single act of kindness, they saw the true heart of leadership, a heart that beats for its people. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Hit the like button to honor those 4 brave boys. Share this story with your friends and family. Let the world see what true leadership and compassion look like. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that restore faith in humanity. Because sometimes, one act of kindness can change an entire nation.